can see here, only a little bit on the face is visible. And then when you step back, as a comparison, unfinished, now finished. So there's a good tip for dealing with butt ends, the notorious composite deck problem. First things first, you're going to need a few tools. As you assemble your deck, I'm just going to cover through what I am using in no particular order. You're going to utilize clamps to hold things in place, to get your measurements and marks. It's always best to scribe. If you want it to be perfect, I would recommend, especially with aluminum railing, to use your knife to mark it, as a pencil is hard to read and hard to get a real accurate line. So the way I mark my railing is using a combination of a tri-square and then using that to square across a line. That way it gives a nice fine line and it's easy to read. Definitely want to pick up one of these post squares. That way when you're going to adjust your post, it's a hands-free reference line. If you want to double check it with the level after you get it in place to make sure, that's not a bad idea. I place this on. You are also going to need extensions for when you're drilling your holes. For your driver, I would buy 2, and then a long drill bit to pre-drill at the post base. See, if I were to pre-drill that hole, where I can slightly angle back and not worry about marring up the side of my post. And before I forget, when you're setting post, you are definitely going to want to have composite shims on hand to be perfectly plumb. So pick up a couple packs of composite shims. Also, for different railing systems, you will want one of these right angle bits. I've covered this before, but for certain railing systems, you will definitely need a right angle, particularly, I believe, AFCO. So the biggest thing to do when you are doing stair railing is utilize a 2x4 on the flat, so 1.5 inch thickness. Clamp it to your post and make sure you have contact with all your nosings of your stairs. Now if you did your job right, it'll be perfect. So once you attach your 2x4 as kind of a jig, that way you can rest your railing, utilize your clamps, get things in place to see how it's going to have to work out. The main thing is with these pre-assembled railings, basically what you want to do is get it in place to see where you have equal distance between your first baluster or spindle to your post. Once you get those lined up, you can set it in place, clamp it, and scribe the back side to get the corresponding angle that you will have to cut it with on your miter saw. I will show you which blade you want. I cut all this railing with a Diablo non-ferrous blade. Cuts great. I've had to cut down all my posts because they were all back ordered. That is another thing you need to consider. Depending on where you place your post, the setback from your nosings is going to change what height of post you need. So a good idea is to always buy the taller post option and you can trim it down. I always try to do things as symmetrical as possible. If I did not have those posts, I probably would have creeped those out to just line up to the center of my framing. So I have an inch overhang, half-inch fascia, plus to get to the center of my beam would be 2 1/4 from the end. That's probably where I would have set it. Now, the other considerations you have is when it comes to your stair railing. Best case scenario is usually 1.5 inches back from your treads is where your post should start. So realistically, best case scenario, I would have bumped these out, or what you see a lot of guys do is they will set a post to the ground. A post all the way to the concrete, I think looks hideous. That's why I don't typically do it unless it's special request. I like the stair post being on the deck tread, or that's where I think for aesthetic purposes should finish. I kept my same setback the whole way around. What you could do to resolve this, if you had an older person that really struggled with stairs, is almost every deck railing company makes a handrail you can attach to your post as well. Other considerations are handrail height. When you take that measurement, you need to take it plumb from a stair nosing, and you want to be from 34 inches to 38 inches. So I always shoot for 36. That way I know I'm good. And you can see by setting a 2x4, I'll be right at about 35.5, 35 3/4, which is perfect. I am going to figure out what my angle is. It's a good representation of how this railing is now off. I just unclamped it, but by pushing it into place, like I said, it's got give, so that's not a big issue. If you get it and think, if you get it and see this and think, oh man, you'll be able to get it to work out just fine. So my stair angle is 32.5. My top railing's running past. Set your pivot on your square, and then you read at the very bottom edge where your pivot point is at. And I'm 32.5. Goes, like I said, the roller stands help support it. Slides very easy, so make sure and have a good grip. Keep a rag or a leaf blower and make sure and blow off the base of your saw, because you can mar up your railing with the shavings that will accumulate on the base. One thing to be aware of when you're doing aluminum railing is the shavings get all over you, and even wearing safety glasses, I just got some in my eyes. So be cautious of the man glitter. Definitely keep some eye wash on hand to be able to get that out. I just had a huge chunk. It does not feel good. The sooner you can get it out, the sooner you can prevent any damage. Don't rub your eyes, just use a wash. This I just keep in my truck. I got a few of them, but you can really irrigate, get whatever's in your eye out, and take care of your eyes. So when you're dealing with railing, aluminum, to get a perfect fit, right here I got about 1/8 inch down towards the bottom. So what I am going to do is get a gauge block, scribe it, and then that way I can do a compound miter on my saw and get it just perfect. If you don't want to take your time, you can buy some black exterior caulk and caulk those joints. I don't know what else you can do. Just because setting these posts, they can get tweaked a little when you're running those legs in, and 1/16 of an inch when it comes to aluminum is enough to really give some unsightly lines. So that is why I am going to scribe this, and I'm using this block right here as a test to basically make fine adjustments. This is just a drop from my other railing sections. That ain't bad, but the bottom is a little off. So what I'm going to do is see if I can true these up at all. And that's why I like this system. You can see how simple that is to secure. And this is all hidden. So if you miss, like I just did, no big deal. Because these tabs aren't full depth. They're kind of angled, obviously, with the stair rake. So you can see, you just try to offset your screws. Now there's a little adjustment. Even this post is rock solid, but if I really push and tweak it, I can take up, that 1/8 of an inch just by pushing on it and setting these screws. So this is kind of your opportunity to really fine tune your post, get a real nice tight fit. So, and I'm just using my tri-square as a scribe, just the thickness. And marking aluminum with a pencil is difficult. So I'm just going to use my knife to give myself a real clean cut line. Now by using this, offsetting it, I'll be able to get the exact angle, my backing angle. Do the same thing down here. So you can see that knife line just gives a real clean line to cut to.